All right, so you're welcome to this session of LAMAD of the community. This is Hakan's Community, by the way, and we'll be talking about the economic scourge. So you've noticed that many of the things that we've been talking about in the economy that has to do with economic or financial issues have actually been in this type and pattern. And the truth is that we will continue to talk about it until we hit the green light, until we get to that point of safety, until we get to that point of independence, until we get to that point of protection. So, what do I really want to talk to us today about the financial scourge and what it does represent for us, as people? So, first and foremost, it's best to understand when I say the term scourge, it's a terminology that actually does describe an issue that has a destructive and widespread scope. That is what is termed an economic scourge. So a hard scourge could also mean an infliction of the whip or what have you, but this is the core that I'm talking and facing as it regards to our finances and it regards to the economy. Now, when we talk about, there is actually a combination of financial and economic scourge, but because financial scourges usually affect more of individuals and small groups, but economic scourge actually encompasses a whole lot more. So it's better to talk about the larger frame, than just pinning on the little frame. So, first and foremost, what is the scourge and what would be the scope and the extent of the scourge? Now, the scourge has been something that has been common drawing for everyone who has been on this feed. You get to understand one of the gospel I've been talking about for a long time is buying grain. And later on, I moved on and made us to understand that the season of buying grain has actually passed. Now we need to get to the season of the treasury of grains. And so all of these are just a big message, but are being cut into tiny pieces so that at least to some extent we might be able to follow through. Now, what is the extent of the scourge? I wrote them here so that I'll be a bit more succinct. Now, when you begin to see certain things before the land or beplague the land, then you begin to know that there might actually be an impending scourge. Number one, when you test your economy, when you have a diagnosis of the economy, and you begin to see some of these signs, then know that a scourge might be on the way. Now, when you now have all of these signs, know that I'm pretty much on the horizon. Okay. Now, the first thing is corruption. Now, there is the corruption that comes to mind that, people are being corrupt in the sense that they're taking money that belongs to people and all of that. That is a part of corruption. But corruption in its total sense is an unhealthy state of a thing that continues to degrade gradually over time, up to the point that it cannot be of profitable use anymore. So when you have a fruit and the fruit becomes corrupt, it means that if you plant it, you're not going to get a harvest. If you eat it, you might die because it's become poisonous. Okay, so that is the concept of corruption I want you to take a look at. So all the things about people stealing money, those are just symptoms of a corrupt society. Now, the second one is illicit movement of cash, illicit cash flow, or you can call it illegal cash flow. Now, when cash is supposed to move around an economy in such a way, but we find out that it is not being evenly distributed, there is a problem. And it is pointing to the indicator that a scourge might actually be impending. The third one is very high inflation rate. So when you find yourself in a place, in a territory, in an economy that is plagued with high inflation and makes the cost of living skyrocket, these are very bad negative indicators to look at. The next one after that is unemployment. So even though there might be high inflation, but if people are not even able to make ends meet, there are no jobs out there, and the rate of unemployment continues to rise, then you know that there's a lot of scourge on the horizon. Then from unemployment, it goes right to poverty. And when a people can actually now be termed as poor. Okay, so these are some of the things that indicators that we need to look at. And the final one is economic crisis altogether. Okay, everything begins to collapse, everything begins to break down. It looks like a country or a nation is in a sinking boat, and then what they're just trying to do is to use buckets to put out the water without really attacking the hole that is allowing water to come in. Okay, so this is important for you to get when we're talking about what it does mean to have an experience of the scourge. Now, we have seen the signs, we have been told the signs for many years. We've even gotten intelligence that lets us know that there is a famine coming. And many people have not been able to do well, sadly, in spite of that news. They have not been able to build storehouses. They've not been able to build strong houses. Okay, they've not been able to build safe houses. And if you're not able to do this, it actually puts you in quite a precarious position when the storms and the floods and the winds eventually come. Okay, now, one thing you also need to understand is the people who have positioned themselves as an ostrich. Now, what I mean by this is that, the ostrich believes that as long as its head is under the sand, it's safe from whatever it is, which is a delusion. Now, there are many people, especially people in the religious circles, who believe that all I have to do is to pray to God and God is going to save me. That is right, that is good, but that is not true. You need to understand that there is a purpose to prayer. Now, praying does not mean God will come down to help solve your problems, especially in the day and age that we've found ourselves. When you're praying, what you need to understand is that prayer is what allows you to access God. So, for example, if you need money, when you pray to God, God does not give you money. God can give you favor. God can give you wisdom. God can give you ideas. God can bring relationships into your hand. God can give you leverage. Now, the answers to prayers for money is wisdom, relationship, leverage, ideas. But if you don't know how to work with those things that God gives to you, you will remain in the position that you're at. So a lot of people already have answers to prayers, but they don't know, because what they are looking for is the end, the money, the job, and what have you. And it's important for us to learn to snap out of that delusion, especially in the time and the seasons that we found ourselves. If we don't do the right thing, oh dear, the fate is going to be abysmal. It's going to be very sore. Okay, and no one would want to live that kind of experience. Okay, so you need to snap out of that delusion. What prayer does is to allow you to access intelligence, access wisdom, give you favor, and then you need to know how to comport yourself, how to position yourself, how to build something. Okay, I'm going to go there pretty soon. In this day and age, one of the things that would save you from the scourge is when you build something. Now, it might be a building or a civilization or an economy. Now, during the time of Joseph, which would always make a reference to, when it was time of the famine, they actually built silos as a treasury system to reserve food. And that was the food they were able to use during the times of famine. During the time of Jesus, when the world was seeing a corruption, Jesus came to open us up into the kingdom, giving us access into the kingdom, that when you come into the kingdom through Christ, then the corruption of the world, the death that comes to the world will have no effect on you. And so you begin to understand that the nature and the standard and the protocol has always been that of a building. For Noah, for example, when the world was about to be destroyed by the floods, God instructed him to build an ark. Now, you cannot say in this same day and age that or you're just waiting, God is going to come and save you. That's how a lot of believers have not become influential and they've remained at the bottom of the pyramid. There is something you have to build by intelligence. There is something you have to build by revelation. There is something you have to build by encounter. And so, as a believer, one of the core things you actually need to begin to face is the relationship that allows you to get sustained communication. And the communication to build these things will not come on your terms. It will come on the terms of the master builder, okay, which is God Himself. So, one of the core emphasis of the season should be prayers for wisdom and instruction. God will give wisdom, God will give instruction, and then when we receive that wisdom, when we receive that instruction, it compels us to do something. It doesn't have to be a physical structure that will be built. It might be a community, it might be some sort of ministry, some sort of outreach, some sort of reserve, depending on the instruction. And I need to tell you this: a lot of people are already getting instruction, and a lot of people are already building. Do you know what happens to people who do not build? Let's go back to Joseph's example. Now, when Joseph builds a silo system, those who did not build those systems, when the famine came, they had to sell the things they had in order to get from the things that has been built. If you do not build anything in this time and in this season, you will eventually lose everything you have in order to gain leverage from the people who have actually built something. But in order to build something, you know that you don't build things just by prayers. You build things by relationship and by resources. So you build by three things, basically: resources, relationship, revelation. So I call them the 3 R's of building. And so these are some of the things that you need to have in this time, in this age, and in this season as we begin to navigate through what is called this economic scourge. A scourge is a time of dryness, it's a time of leanness, it's a time of pain, it's a time of punishment, as it were. But whatever you know it, there is nothing good about a scourge. I would end with this. I remember one of the days when I was praying with my community, and I heard in my spirit while we were praying, because we were not even praying about anything in particular, we were just praying in the spirit and all of that. And I heard in my spirit the voice of God say, "I will save you from the scourge to come. I will save you from the scourge to come." What does this mean? It will be delusional for you to pray against a scourge, because the scourge is gonna come. What you need to do is to have salvation when the scourge comes. And that salvation can mean many things. That salvation can be resources, that salvation can be relationship, that salvation can be a revelation that you must build. And the thing about this building is that every person that God has instructed to build something to save a generation and an age was never for subsistent purposes. So it was not just for them. They were the people who were the project managers of that enterprise, but it's something to be opened for other people to benefit from. And so one of the things I want you to glean from today's session: I cannot tell you what to build. I don't know what you're supposed to build, because I don't know the part you are supposed to play in the salvation of the scourge. However, there is a chief master builder who knows the position everyone is supposed to be. That is who you need to ask. That is who you need to get instructions from. That is who you need to get a revelation from. That is who you go to meet to understand the allocation of the resources that will enable you to be able to build. And when you have the blueprint of what you're supposed to build, that is not the time to give in to fear. That is not the time to be doubtful. That is the time to exercise faith and to go with the force and the speed of grace. Because there is a lot of urgency in the season, and you cannot just be laid back. You must learn how to be innovative. You must learn how to be creative while sticking to the blueprint that has been given to you. And so it's a season that you have to be very, very intentional about. Now, what are some of the things I believe you have to do or you should do this season? One of the key things is we are all creators, we are all builders in this season. And when you go to the chief master builder, who then gives you instructions will come with scriptures, with ideas. And one of the core things you have to understand is in the power of the spoken word. One of the things we get to understand is that this world was created by spoken words. And so some of the revelation that would come into your heart, you must hover upon it, okay, to know exactly what to say. You can't just say anything. You have to know exactly what to say. And when what to say has been given to you, you speak it. And when you speak it, what it does is it begins to condition the atmosphere, it begins to condition the environment, and begins to influence, so as it were, even the very hearts and the dispositions of men. Okay, so one of the things you are building, you have to know that some of them might be physical, some of them might be structural, some of them might be atmospheric, some of them might be political, some of them might be economic, some of them might be spiritual. But whatever you will build, it must come through the instrument of the word. I'll give an example. When 2 weeks ago, when we were praying and then we heard the word, I would save you from the scourge to come. And then the next week when we're praying again, we're given to us 2 Samuel chapter 22, the whole Psalms of David. And what we're supposed to meditate upon it and to make proclamations or declarations from it. Now, I'm not saying you have to make proclamations and declarations based on what I've said. What I'm saying is understand the protocol. There were consistent times of prayer, and for each consistent time of prayer, there were revelations and instructions of things to do. And it is obedience to those revelations and instructions that help you to begin to create things. Because this structure that will be created by the hand of God, but it requires human partnerships. And so when God is done, and when man is done, and when the scourge is come, we will have that salvation that we have been promised. But if we build nothing and expecting God to do everything, woe will betide the church. Okay, and so this is just one of the things I want you to ponder upon. There's a lot of things that's going to happen financially, and we can already begin to see the shift in politics, in war, in famine, in natural disasters, and all of that. We are not supposed to wait and be worried. We are supposed to go and build. Okay, the Lord will begin to flood you with insight and revelations and ideas and things to say, things to do, things to create. Sometimes you're just creating a part of it, and then with time, God will begin to connect you with people who have already built other parts, and then for you to collaborate, and be able to build something. You know what I mean? Just like in a building project, we would have the architects, we would have the foreman, we would have the bricklayer, we would have the surveyors. Everybody works in partnership in order to build the whole sculpture and structure. Okay, so that is what it is. So it's a very much spiritual exercise. However, it must have a physical landmark in order to be able to save a lot of people. Now, I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with a prayer. And this is my prayer for everyone here today. I pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, that everyone that has a part to play in that which you are revealing to man in this time, I pray for wisdom, I pray for revelation, I pray for insight, I pray for instruction, I pray for favor, I pray for capacity for you, and I pray for faith. That faith will be stirred up in your heart, and for every instruction that comes from the mouth of God, you will run with it. I take away every form of fear, I take away every form of doubt, I take away every form of unbelief, I take away every form of dissatisfaction and depression. You will go with a force of clarity. The word of God will be clear to you. You will know beyond every doubt, beyond every reasonable doubt, what God is calling you to do and what your part is in this season. Revelation will flood your heart, and you will not miss your day. You will not miss your time. You will not miss your season, in the name of Jesus. All right, so this is the part that I believe I get to play in all of this. To continue to put the word out there, to inform people, to inspire people, to allow people to become more aware to what God is doing, and for them to be able to align in order for them to be creators in this age. All right, so the next time you get to hear from me, or the next time I get to hear from you, unleashing soteria, lambano, stereo. God bless you.